Ever wonder why the Animal Kingdom's river tour faded into obscurity? Why was the experience so short-lived? Just imagine cruising along a river with dense jungles on both sides and expecting to encounter majestic animals and mythical creatures. Who wouldn't want that? That's what Disney's Animal Kingdom promised guests, an adventure like no other. So, what really happened? Why did Disney abandon this ride? And what remains of it today? Let's dive into the intriguing story of a Disney attraction that's been lost to time, but not forgotten by those who were lucky enough to ride it. But first, if you're enjoying this content, please subscribe to our channel. It costs nothing to do so and it really helps us. Thank you. When Disney's Animal Kingdom was announced in the mid-1990s, they set out to build a theme park like no other. It was planned to be a celebration of nature, wildlife, and the imagination. So in addition to bringing real animals and authentic ecosystems to the park, Disney Imagineers had another trick up their sleeves. They wanted to add an extra layer of enchantment. Apart from the live animals present, there was to be a separate land dedicated to themed creatures, experienced through a ride on the Discovery Riverboats. The idea for the Discovery Riverboats was grand and quite ambitious. It wasn't initially envisioned as a simple sightseeing cruise. Imagineers hoped guests would have the feeling of being in a storybook. How so? Well, the original vision included several standout encounters. One was the concept of the Beastly Kingdom, which included mythological creatures like the ill-tempered dragon and the unicorn. The dragon area would feature a dragon tower, where guests could find hidden treasures protected by a fire-breathing dragon. There was to be a dragon's lair, a fiery cave tucked into the riverside where an animatronic dragon would occasionally emerge, breathing fire and adding an air of danger and mystique. The land's thrilling attraction was to be a ride called Dragon's Tower, which would have been Disney's largest audio animatronic roller coaster at the time. The unicorn area was planned to have an interactive walk-through hedge maze called Quest for the Unicorn, representing the kingdom's kinder creatures. Guests were to find their way through the maze till they got to a hidden cave where they'd meet an animatronic unicorn. Across the park would be Dino Land. This was to be a land of dinosaurs with two thrill rides. One was a mine-style roller coaster called the Excavator. The other dino-themed thrill ride was to be a near replica of the Indiana Jones Adventure dark ride at Disneyland Park, named Countdown to Extinction. These thrilling moments were meant to tease a grander idea, the future land of Beastly Kingdom, where mythical creatures would roam freely. Beastly Kingdom, a planned area in Animal Kingdom, would showcase the realm of fantasy animals alongside the real ones. By adding glimpses of dragons and other magical creatures along the river route, Disney intended to introduce guests to this idea early on, preparing them for a mythical world that would eventually open in the park. The Beastly Kingdom plans were so real that you can still spot a dragon on the Animal Kingdom logo today, even though the kingdom itself never came to be. There was to be three pillars of the Animal Kingdom, that is the real, the mythological, and the extinct animals, which were connected to the park's icon, a 14-story hand-carved tree called the Tree of Life. These different sections had Animal Kingdom's foundation of wildlife, all unified through the park's central island, Safari Village. In the waterways around Safari Village, Disney sought to create a river experience with splashes of the different themes. The Discovery Riverboats was to be a ride through the park, and the tour was to take guests past each of the lands of the Animal Kingdom. The tour guides, known as skippers, would point out various animatronics and special effects along the way, in a similar style as the Jungle Cruise ride. While going through Africa, hot springs geysers would go off, and at Dino Land, guests would meet a large animatronic dinosaur wading through the shallow waters. The most thrilling part of the attraction was when guests came to Beastly Kingdom. The dragon would emerge, breathing fire and attempting to attack the boat, but the skipper would steer the boat away from the dragon. The skipper would warn guests that the dragon may have awoken a beast that lurks underneath the waters, the Kraken. As they progressed on the tour, the boat would begin to sway. The waters bubble and the fins of the Kraken become visible in an attempt to seize the boat and its occupants, similar to the experience in the Jaws ride, which Universal had used several years earlier. And of course, because this is Disney, the skipper would play a song on a lyre to calm the Kraken until he returned back into the water to wait for his next victims. However, the grand ideas would prove challenging to deliver. Despite Disney's early vision, the resources required to bring Beastly Kingdom to life, and thus the detailed Riverboat storyline, were immense. Disney knew all about animatronics, but they were still new to live animals. Disney greatly underestimated just how expensive the back-of-house amenities would be for its live animals. While budget cuts could be made around the theme park, Disney could not take shortcuts with their animal-related needs. This meant that significant budget cuts were on the way for the theme park portion of Animal Kingdom, meaning creative plans were either significantly altered or removed entirely. As a result, the Discovery Riverboats launched as an attraction without its original story-driven elements or mythical creatures. The promise of Beastly Kingdom was put on indefinite hold, leaving the Riverboats without a clear thematic anchor. And so, instead of the thrilling adventure Disney had dreamed up, what opened in 1998 was a scenic, slow-paced boat ride, which didn't live up to the hype. Nearly all effects of the ride were cut back, while some, like the Kraken, were removed entirely. Instead of up-close encounters with wildlife or thrilling mythical scenes, the actual experience was fairly uneventful. Guests rode in open-air boats that circled the central hub of the park, but the encounters were minimal, and many left feeling underwhelmed. The attempted excitement elements that Disney did manage to include weren't exactly what guests expected. The ride began at the mythical area where guests would see a static unicorn instead of an animatronic. Moving forward, they'd pass under a bridge and see a rock formation of a dragon, indicating they were approaching dragon territory. Up ahead, they'd see the Dragon's Cave with rock needles rising out from the water, which held the bodies of medieval knights in states of dismemberment, impaled, half-melted, in pieces and so on. They represented the knights that had failed to defeat the fearsome dragon. This scene appeared so gruesome and quite disturbing, so they were removed after the park's preview period. As the boats passed the cave, the dragon would make itself known but would not emerge as previously planned due to animatronic budget cuts. So instead, a simple fire effect shot out of the cave. Leaving Beastly Kingdom, guests rounded the corner to Africa, where they were introduced to the geysers and told a backstory of a functional African town, ending the first lap of the journey. The next queue of guests would then board the ride through Asia, which showed several abstract water sculptures of different animals. Moving to Dino Land, USA, guests got to see the only animatronic in the ride, a dinosaur named Aladar, from the 2000 movie named Dinosaur. After the underwhelming debut, Disney quickly realized that the Discovery Riverboats needed a revamp. In June 1998, just 2 months after its opening, the boats were renamed the Discovery River Taxi. The name change was meant to imply that the attraction was less of a ride and more of a transportation system to shuttle guests between the different parts of the park. This shift was a strategy to manage expectations and relieve the disappointment of guests who came expecting a full-fledged adventure. Disney also tried another rebranding approach by turning the ride into the Radio Disney River Cruise. This version included light-hearted commentary and music from the popular Radio Disney station, aimed at giving the boat ride a fun and entertaining atmosphere. However, these rebrands were ultimately band-aid solutions to an attraction that couldn't meet its original vision. The ride's issues were deeper than just the theme. There were practical issues too. The boat's slow-moving nature created long wait times, and since they could only hold a limited number of guests, lines quickly grew. By 1999, it was clear the Discovery Riverboats were not going to become the must-see attraction Disney had hoped for. The rebrands hadn't solved the ride's core issues, and the lack of any substantial animal encounters or mythical sights left guests unimpressed. On August 21, 1999, Disney quietly closed the Discovery Riverboats for good, officially removing it from the list of Animal Kingdom attractions. Unlike other Disney attractions that closed after years of successful operation, the Discovery Riverboats faded away with little fanfare. It became one of the shortest-lived attractions in Disney theme park history, surviving barely a year and a half. Today, there are still traces of the old riverboat stations around Discovery River, specifically the Dragon Rocks, but they serve as quiet reminders of an attraction that never quite hit the mark. The boat dock areas have since been repurposed for other uses in the park, but you can still spot remnants of the old riverboat tour if you know where to look. So why did the Discovery Riverboats fail? Disney had the right idea, but several factors worked against the ride's success. First, Animal Kingdom was built with a very different philosophy from other Disney parks. While parks like Magic Kingdom or Epcot have thrilling, highly themed rides, Animal Kingdom was meant to be more of an educational experience. However, this created a mismatch between the park's mission and the Discovery Riverboats' fantasy concept. The lack of an actual storyline was another critical problem. Without Beastly Kingdom or any other fantasy land to support it, the ride lost its sense of adventure and became more of a scenic detour. The pacing also hindered the experience. Guests wanted a faster, more interactive ride, not a slow loop without much to see. When the Disney Riverboats closed, Disney had learned an important lesson. Future attractions at Animal Kingdom, like Expedition Everest, were designed with more action, thrill, and immersive storytelling. Today, the memory of the Discovery Riverboats still lingers in Animal Kingdom. Although the boats themselves are long gone, remnants of the old stations remain along the water. If you're walking around Discovery River, you might even spot areas where the boats used to dock. These spots are now used for other park elements, like character meet and greets or temporary displays. But the memory of the riverboats is a hidden Easter egg for dedicated Disney fans. The ride's legacy also lives on as a curious piece of Disney lore. To this day, Disney enthusiasts look back on the Discovery Riverboats as a fascinating what could have been in the story of Animal Kingdom. If Beastly Kingdom had been built as planned, we might be talking about the Discovery Riverboats as one of the park's most unique attractions. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and we'll see you next time.